welcome to this new video for my channel, The Mental Traveler. I'm Caro Herrera and today I'm going to be reviewing a book called Tolkien the Great War, The Threshold of Middle-earth. It was written by J.R.R.T, it was published in 2005, and it's around 400 pages long. Before I begin though, let me just say that this will be a spoiler-free video, so you can sit back and enjoy. I can't really remember when did I first become aware of this book or how, but I'm very glad that I finally got the chance to read it. Why? Because I've loved Tolkien and his works ever since I was a child, and because I'm also a history lover, an Anglophile, and aspiring writer. And so this book, because it's about Tolkien, it just combined a lot of examples of these elements. For example, my favorite period in history are the first 2 decades of the 20th century, and World War I was, I think, the most important event that took place in that time. And I know quite a lot about it, but despite the fact that I knew that Tolkien had fought in it, I wasn't really aware of all the details as to what he had done while he was fighting, or how did that influence his writings. I could sort of imagine it, but I didn't have any proof or analysis unlike what this book delivers. Previously, I had read and reviewed Humphrey Carpenter's Biography on Tolkien, which I totally adored, but which of course doesn't specifically concentrate on this period of Tolkien's life. As the title points out, in this book we get a very clear idea of what were Tolkien's experiences before, during, and after World War I, and how they helped shape his tastes, writing styles, and ideas, and how all of these combined were the foundations of what would later become the famous stories of the Silmarillion, Beren and Luthien, the Fall of Gondolin, the Children of Hurin, Unfinished Tales, the Hobbit, and the Lord of the Rings. We get an idea of what J.R.R. Tolkien was like as a teenager, as a soldier, as a passionate seeker of the origins of languages, and as a young man starting a family as he tries to come to terms with life after the Great War, and well, so much more as well. Also, since Tolkien before World War I belonged to a close group of friends called the Tea Club and Barovian Society, or the T.C.B.S, and they influenced him and his works in several ways, we also get to know these fellow young men, and they are just full with passions and dreams of the future, and then we see how their world crumbles around them because of World War I when they are sent off to fight. I give Tolkien the Great War, The Threshold of Middle-earth a 5 out of 5 stars review. I highly recommend it. It's so beautiful. I love it. It impressed me how well researched it was, and I am a journalist, so of course I had to keep an eye out for that. And it makes me happy when an author did his or her homework. But I also love that this book made me feel like I was getting to know Tolkien back in his youth and his friends. I love the fact that we get examples of their writings, their letters, brings them to life, which shows us their similarities and how different they were in their personalities as well. Knowing beforehand what happened to them. This made a very bittersweet reading when I was finding out how they influenced Tolkien and his works that I treasure, that the whole world adores. Also, talking about Tolkien and his friends, in a way, this book just made me the more eager to read The Inklings by Humphrey Carpenter, which deals about who Tolkien's friends were when he was a middle-aged man in Oxford teaching. One of his closest friends was C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia. And it's interesting to think about Tolkien getting so attached to these 2 different group of friends at different points of his life, how they shaped and influenced him. It's fascinating. Yeah, and I also really love that this book gives us a clear analysis of how it was that Tolkien first began to develop his languages. That was fascinating, really. And how he started to develop his world and Middle-earth and his characters because of the languages that he was inspired to create. Finally, I've always dreamed of starting a continuing education course at Oxford, because to my eyes that's like the perfect stage for studying English literature. And I just discovered that J.R.R.T, the author of this book, actually teaches a class about Tolkien and Lewis, so it would be fantastic and out of this world to actually study about these authors in the place where they studied and where they taught by an author that I've actually read his work. That would be a dream come true. And also, just to wrap up my review, I also like that this book touches on issues like PTSD, the Lost Generation, and even Peter Pan, how all of these things affected Tolkien and other fellow veterans from World War I. But for the moment, I believe this is all I have to say about Tolkien and the Great War. Thank you so much for watching my review of this. Please let me know if you enjoyed it or not, as well as what are your own thoughts on Tolkien and this book, because I would love to talk about it all with you. In the description box below, you can find a link to the book's Goodreads page, as well as a link to my review of Humphrey Carpenter's Biography on Tolkien. Also, a movie has just been released called Tolkien that actually deals with the events that this book covers. It stars Lily Collins and Nicholas Hoult, Derek Jacobi, and others. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm definitely gonna watch it and review it because I think it's gonna be a fascinating period drama. But yeah, anyways, I'm Caro Herrera, the Mental Traveler, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye!